In the current crisis that we're in, the current time we are with the pandemic going on with COVID-19, what are things that we can do to kind of help our stress and anxiety levels not really get the best of us right now?
You and I had talked a little bit earlier about, some people can navigate these times and it's as if nothing's bothering them at all, versus you have other people that are experiencing a lot of extra stress and anxiety. And so there are some techniques that we can do. It's really clarifying and evaluating our perception. Our perception is the way we perceive the world. And a lot of that perception has been based on past experiences. And so if, take for instance, if you suffer through the Great Depression, then, people tend to stock a little bit more food, maybe bury money out in the backyard. They do things that someone born maybe in my day or your day would look at as being a little bit extreme, but of course they have good reason to do that. So right now, if we're suffering from stress and anxiety, uh, there's several things we can do. It's mainly just clarifying and evaluating. We need to do all we can do, or one thing I tell people is just to control the controllables. I can't control things that are outside of my control. All I can do is just control that which is possible for me to control. So when we change the way we look at this situation, the situation changes. And so along with controlling the controllables, it's good to learn to identify and separate the internals from the externals. Externals probably might be like watching Fox News or CNN 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
They're going to flood you with information that, is going to it's going to elevate our stress and anxiety. So what I do is, if there is something that creates a little stress and anxiety in me, I try to like ask, what is that? Rather than go with that, because once you hit that initial stressful moment, the narrative that you create, like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this. You tend to follow a dialogue that confirms that first initial response versus recognizing that, okay, there's something going on. I'm not feeling comfortable right now. There's an acronym called the RAIN method. And what that means is when we have this thought, you recognize, you allow, you identify, and you non-associate. So actually get outside of yourself and take a look at what's happening. You recognize there's a thought, and rather than fighting that thought, you allow it, because the thing that you think you should do is really counterintuitive. You think you should fight it because I don't want to feel this way.
Mhm.
Rather, what we should do is just allow it to come in, and then investigate that. Where's it coming from? What does it mean? Why am I feeling this way? What's the worst thing that can happen? And then that puts the thing in a little bit clearer perspective. The non-identify is that's what you would do. What advice, if I'm feeling this way, would I give a friend that's feeling this way? That helps a lot too. So that's something that helps. We don't tend to see things as they are. We see them as we are. With our perception, we're bringing a lot to it. So that's one of the first steps that we can do that'll really help to kind of calm the nerves. I think one of the biggest problems, the biggest addictions that we have that you'll never hear about is the confirmation bias addiction. We seek information that will support our position.
Mhm.
If anything contradicts what we want to believe, we'll just let that pass. We won't give it any credibility at all. We want to confirm that which we want to believe. So, as we were talking about, if you're more conservative, you're going to probably look for Fox News for your information because it's going to confirm your beliefs. And then if you're more democratic, I would say, then you would probably watch a CNN or an MSNBC. We we just seek to confirm that which we want to believe, and a lot of people they won't acknowledge that, but there are just some of these preconceptions that we've had based on our family and who we hang around, and definitely what we watch,
Right.
and it has a big influence. David Hume said, "Tell me with whom you consort, and I will tell you who you are."
Mm.
And so we do become like-minded, with the groups that we hang out with.
Well, and I think the other thought that came to my mind was, when I was a kid, I used to be really scared when I had to stay home by myself. And I was scared of being alone. Well, I might hear a tree crack outside and then think someone's trying to break into the house. you know. And so
Absolutely.
it seems like not just kind of we try to go with what we want to believe is right, but at the same time we're allowing those things to affect our fears as well, which creates a lot of anxiety.
Absolutely. You know, what we're experiencing right now is called amygdala hijacking. And amygdala is an area of our brain that is responsible for the flight or fight mechanism. And, you know, if you look at looked at a lot of research with neuroscientists, and they say that this is the first time in the history of man that there's more information coming in than our brain can process. And so our perception, the first filter, it has to, whatever we're seeing, tasting, touching, feeling, smelling, has to be processed through the amygdala. And if it's safe, then the information will transfer up into the upper hemispheres where we can use logic and reason. Well, what's happening is that our information is getting hijacked by this amygdala. And so what we're doing is we're acting out of emotions, you know, very irrational, quick tempered. You know, you may say something and then immediately you regret it because you realize what you said was not appropriate for the stimuli. So that's what's happening when you were, you know, scared of the dark or scared of being alone. Your fight or flight mechanism was elevated, and you know that served a very important purpose in one point of our history. It's just now that the amygdala is on high alert because we have so much information coming in that the brain is not used to processing that much. So that's creating a lot of our issues today. But there's techniques to use to disengage the amygdala.